Welcome to sportsbookreview.com. I'm Natalie Van Rydstrom, and we are looking into round 2 tennis betting for Wimbledon 2018. We've got Whale Capper and Nigel Seeley with us today, two of the sharpest betting minds in the industry. You guys cleaned up in French Open. I'm so excited and happy to have you on board here for Wimbledon 2018. First of all, Whale Capper, before we started, what a first round we've had. It's almost sort of like a little bit sort of echoing the World Cup we're having. Right now, really, it's wide open. We've had the favourite on the women's side had to come out due to injury. How are you feeling moving into round 2?
I'm still pretty confident on the men's side. I haven't gotten the results I was looking for in match-by-match betting, but I think the draw still is shaped well for some of the outrights that I have backed to make particularly deep runs. I guess you could say we have had some upsets on the men's side. The likes of Team going out today was not a huge shock. I still think that you're going to, at the end of the day, come down to, on the top, it's going to be Federer and Cilic, whoever can, outlast each other in that match. And then on the bottom side, it's pretty much wide open. So I'm excited still about the men's side. What happens in the women's from here on out is going to be exciting to watch.
Yeah, it sure
the fact
is.
that we lost the betting market favorite on day one in such shocking fashion really is going to kind of throw that women's outright market into turmoil. And there's not an obvious winner out of that knockout because that was kind of a weak section of the draw anyway. Really, it still is anyone who's still alive at least still has a good shot at winning in the women's side.
Absolutely. And Nigel, we spoke the other day and we were looking at futures, and Del Potro was one of your favourites. He looked very strong in the first round at 22 aces. He's priced 17 now, so that's come down a little bit. Do you think he's still a challenger for the title?
Well, he was helped in the betting because Andy Murray went out. Obviously, Andy Murray, I thought there was a really didn't make much of a factor because I didn't think Andy Murray was going to be a factor in this tournament. So the bookmakers obviously saw that as a positive for him, which I think it is obviously a positive because Andy Murray's got such a good record and in front of a home crowd. But he did what he had to do today. Broke at important times, held his serve, never looked threatened on his serve. And that's all you have to do in the first round of Grand Slam. Just get through. Win 6-4, 6-4. There's no point of getting in 5-set thrillers. There's no point in getting... And just the business end is the second week. I agree with Whale Capper there. The fact is that the women's draw has been very disappointing. My losing bets so far in this tournament have been on the women's draw. I don't know what we can take for that now. There's 2 men against 1. Should we trust women? I don't know. I'm not quite sure. For my personal life, I know that's a bad thing. But the end of the day, I think we have to put our trust in these fellas. They seem to be doing the form a lot much better than anyone else. But I tell you what, the one thing I have learned from this tip on, obviously from SBR, is that I didn't realise that Flash Gordon Watson, former Sheffield Wednesday striker, professional punter on the Punters Show, was such a tennis aficionado. I mean, he's tweeting away about players who are going to win tournaments after the favourite goes out. I wish I knew that. I've just tweeted that Sweden will beat Switzerland 1-0 hour and a half after they've won. Hope I got the right result. But I didn't know that he was such a great judge on tennis. But there you go. We'll note for next season.
Well, listen, that's the thing with betting is everyone can have a go. But yes.
After time, yes.
And listen, that's why we've got you guys. Dalo 4 says, what an awful round 1 of betting. Yes, it was. But listen, some of the favourites went through. Certainly some money was made, but that's why we pulled in the big guns here to help us along. On the women's side, you say
just one thing. What's one thing you said? I was going to pull it up in your intro. You said you got 2 of the greatest, the best, sharpest minds in betting. The problem is Whale Capper's in volleyball. And mine's in basketball. We got us on the tennis show, so I'm just. but I was only joking. But I was going to use that line, and I wrote it down, and I wanted to use it like all comedians do, wait for an opportunity. But seriously, let's have a look at this tournament now. Just before we go on to the women's draw is wide open. The men's draw, all the seeds are going to be there. Going to be there to the end of the day, and the question mark is whether you think Federer can win it or Federer can't win it.
Yeah.
And I think the value is in the bottom half, like I said the other day, but. Listen, we've only had 2 days of a tournament. We've given 1 tip that's lost. We've had 1 tip that's won. You know, we've given a tip on the outright that's gone out. We've got 13 days to get this back, and we will get it back.
Oh, yeah.
So don't do a knee-jerk reaction. It's a long way to go. A tennis Grand Slam, you can have one good day, you can all get it back the next day. So don't worry too much.
Yeah, absolutely. Serena,
just for some context, I'm sorry, I interrupted you, Nelly.
Yeah.
Just for some context, I think I was down almost 10 units through like the first 3 or 4 days at French Open and ended up almost up 20. So things can turn around in a hurry, and that was all flat betted. It wasn't scaling units or anything funky like that. Just kind of as in the first round of a slam, you have this whole mishmash of players who have qualified, players who haven't played on grass in a year. So lots of players who have never played on grass in their lives somehow made it into this draw. Like, it's just been a weird round one overall, and it hasn't gone the way I had hoped. My excuse isn't about volleyball. I spent way too much of my time handicapping the hot dog eating contest, which is tomorrow in Coney Island. Nathan's famous hot dog eating contest has really kind of occupied most of my time over the last couple days, and so now I can kind of turn my attention back to tennis now that my hot dog homework is done, and find some winners for round 2.
Nice. What do you think about Serena being favorite right now? Do you think that's right? She's priced 5.
I
heard
Nigel. Yeah, I heard Nigel's opinion on this on the first show you guys did, and I couldn't have agreed more. I thought that she was ridiculously priced from the outright, from the start of this, and still is ridiculously priced. Could she make a semifinal? Sure. But the idea of her being able to put together 7 wins and beat 5 of the top, 15 players in the world on her way to a title here after coming in, having not played any grass and kind of marginally on form, potentially could see her pectoral injury flare up as we go into the tournament and things get deeper. She'll probably be worth backing in these kind of middle rounds here. But I think once the schedule compresses a little bit, once she's kind of got some miles on her, it's going to be a lot tougher for her to come up with a result against world-class competition in this tournament.
Yeah.
I'm exactly the same. I don't fancy it at all. I personally, now, if I was going to have a bet, I've said all along, I think the bottom half of the draw is the weaker draw. If I was looking at the draw now, the player that I've been really, really impressed with now is Angelika Kerber. I think I was very impressed with her all the way through the grass court soon. She got beaten in the semi-finals at Eastbourne, but I think she had match points against Wozniacki. But John McEnroe used to say, never, ever put yourself through too much and win a tournament a Grand Slam. Get in the semi-finals, quarter-finals, give yourself court time. And I think if I was having a rethink now, Angelika Kerber would be my bet. Serena Williams at 5-1. She could win it, but I tell you what, I think it's one of the worst value punts of the year.
I'm
going to guess Serena goes out to Keys. That's kind of that was when I saw the draw, that was the way I kind of felt that things were going to shake out. Keys kind of asserts herself as the top U.S. women's player on grass, I think, in this tournament.
All right, Dalo4 says, Wawrinka, where did that performance come from? What would you say, Whale Kappa?
So Stan has 3 slam titles. He's won the Australian Open, Roland Garros, and the U.S. Open. This is his last piece to a career slam here at Wimbledon, and obviously it felt like he rushed himself back into playing on clay. It didn't necessarily make sense why he was doing that. My guess now is that he kind of had this tournament and this particular run at Wimbledon, I think, meant more to him than any of us realized. He probably sees this as maybe his last chance to take a crack at completing the career slam. I don't think it's going to happen, but it was pretty inspired play, seeing him come back from losing the first set 1-6 to win 3 in a row against Dimitrov. Some of the tiebreaker play, he showed kind of some of his signature backhand strokes that were just world class, and I could see him make it through here a couple more rounds. He's got a pretty favorable matchup in round 2, potentially runs into trouble once you get into round 4, and I don't think he gets by Cilic if he gets to the quarterfinals.
Yeah, Cilic is looking strong. All right, listen, let us start off. We'll start on the men's side, round 2 plays. Nigel, start us off. What are you looking at?
Well, there's a lot of short price favourites in this round. I mean, a lot of very, very short price favourites, and I obviously realise now that a lot of guys like parlay bets. I wouldn't put anyone off having a few parlay bets on a few very, very short price favourites. But there's a couple of things. One in particular I think could be a shock. One person I want to take on. I want to take on Lucas Poulet against Denis Novak. I think Denis Novak is a very, very good grass player. I saw him play at Wimbledon, the qualification. I went there, I watched him play, and he was the one that I took out of it, who I thought that potentially could be a big price winner. Purely, I don't really rate as a grass course. We got the quarterfinals of Wimbledon a couple of years ago, but I just don't see him as that kind of form. And he's got really big temperament on him. I wouldn't trust him. He was useless in the Davis Cup. His serve goes to pieces, and when his serve goes, he's all over the place. And I think Novak's a young kid. He's unbeaten on grass. I wouldn't put anyone off having a small bet on him to win it, but I think plus 5.5 games at 10 to 11 is my bet and my only bet on the men's draw.
All right. What about you, World Capper? What are you looking at?
I agree. Puel being on upset alert is the first thing that caught my eye when I was looking at the card for tomorrow. I completely agree that Novak is a better grass court player than the handicappers have lined this. I don't know if backing him on the out, to pull up the upset is the angle I'll take this on. I may look for an over in that match because this does kind of feel like it could go the distance because it's going to be competitive. And Puel, we've seen Puel melt down a lot this year when the going's gotten tough. So the best angle at the end of the day may be on the outright, but I need to break that one down a little bit more. The other two angles that stuck out to me, at least for tomorrow's play in round two, we saw this the last year. So Antalya, the tennis tournament in Turkey that goes on the week before Wimbledon, right? That's not close to London, right? And it's a difficult, you put these guys in a difficult position travel-wise who play late into that tournament and then come into Wimbledon. And I looked at what happened last year, and sure enough, like just because you're playing on grass the week before, you're a little sharp. All of the guys that made the semifinals in Antalya last year won their round one matches. That happened again this year. And then I think, what we saw last year at least is they all ran into serious trouble in round two. Like the wear and tear of the travel and all of the play caught up to them. And so for me, that puts both Monfils and Mannarino on upset alert tomorrow. Mannarino especially. To me at least, he's got holes in his game. I know he's a decent grass player. He's got decent hole break stats on grass. But I think he's running on fumes, and I think he's going to be subject to an upset tomorrow. Monfils, I don't know if he loses outright, but I'm almost certainly going to take a swing on the dog in some way. Maybe the games are set handicap, but I need to give that one a little bit more attention.
Yeah. Nigel, just looking at some of the, you're talking about doing like an accumulator or parlay bets here. Del Potro currently at 1.44 against Feliciano Lopez. You could maybe combine that with, who else was I looking at? Stan Wawrinka at 1.35. Do you think those seem quite decent prices to put an ACCA bet?
Yeah, I think there's better options. I think if you're looking at I think there's better options. I think if you're going towards, I think there's a few bets in the women's draw I quite like. I think at a short price I like Petkovic to beat Wickmayer. I think that's a decent price. I think I wouldn't mind putting that in a parlay bet. And if you were looking for another one, I think there's a very interesting game between Safarova and Radwanska. I like Safarova to beat Radwanska, who's a brilliant head-to-head record against her and much better grass court player. So there's a few parlay options. I mean, the men's draw it seems to be very, very difficult, and I think a lot of people are making that transition from clay to grass, and it's not really working. So it's very, very hard for people. But I think what's going to happen in the next couple of days, and I know we've had a shock with Kvitova today, but I've said it before. The weather here is going to be very hot, so it's going to be the real people who got big servers. It's 30 degrees in London. It's going to be 30 degrees in London every day throughout Wimbledon, which means anyone who's a big server is going to have a huge advantage. So look for people like your John Isias, your Sam Querrys, even Karlovic. He's going to play Federer in a couple of days. These guys are going to be very, very dangerous players, and they're available to cause an upset. And I think the same with the women's. That's why Serena Williams is the favourite she is, because she has that big serve. And I think grass court players through and through will come through in this tournament, especially over the next couple of days. So that's why I'm looking at grass court form, not recently, but historically. So that's why all my picks are being based on that kind of sort of information.
All right, well, moving over to women's plays now, round 2. World Cup, what are you looking at?
I think Venus Williams is still underpriced. She's an outstanding grass player. People are down on her because she's been around for so long. She's not a young woman. But I think she's still good enough to earn a little more respect than the bookmakers are giving her. And she's been a good look in play because she's got so much resiliency. She's played so much experience. She's not going to throw in the towel if she loses the first set. So she's been a good look in running. The rest of the women's card, I'm just going to be watching until we see a little bit more out of these women and get a feel for their form a little bit better, because it's chaotic. And there are women who I've never seen play who are putting on spectacular show.
Yeah.
And so I need to get a little deeper into the women's draw before I start really swinging.
All right. Make sure to follow Nigel Seeley and Whale Kappa on Twitter. You've got Whale_Kappa and Seeley_Nigel. So follow them. I'm sure they'll be posting some tennis plays. Very quickly before I let you go, Colombia versus England is just about to kick off. Nigel, who have you got to win?
Well, I'm sort of quite distracted by that because I'm watching the teams and I'm watching. I mean,
Rodriguez is out.
I've told you before. I'm a massive England fan. I mean, I follow England more than I do any club in England. You know, I'm an Arsenal fan, but I've followed England all around the world, and I've watched them at Wembley, and I get very nervous at night. And you probably tell by my sort of body language, I'm not really 80% in the game.
I can tell.
I'm very nervous about this game. But I think this is the biggest opportunity that England have ever had in my lifetime to go on and do really, really well. And this is the biggest game. This is the biggest test, because I think if they get through this, then they believe that they can win it. But this is tough. I wouldn't back England at 2.1 or 2.25 to win in 90 minutes. I think we could be in for a real close night. I think it could be a typical England affair, penalties, extra time. But this England team has got a lot of confidence, and I would fancy them. Unlike other England teams before, they're young, they're hungry, they're winners. And I'm hoping that I'll be sitting here talking to you about us in the quarterfinals. But I'm very nervous, very, very nervous. The team losers has been good to us, but the price, I wouldn't back England.
All right. So you're not backing England. Do you have a bet on the match?
I haven't had a bet. I can never bet England games now. I really couldn't.
All right.
I get so involved.
I'm on England, Nigel. I'm on England at the 2.1.
I am too. Yeah, I was like,
I know you've been dabbling World Cup in World Cup betting. Have you got a bet for this match?
Yeah, I put in 2 for this one. I got England to win in 90, and then I have England to win to 0. Colombia has scored goals in 8 straight World Cup matches. All of their offense goes through James Rodriguez. He's out. He's not even available to be brought in as a sub. That puts way more pressure on them to get it done via set pieces. And I think England has the size and strength on defense to really give them hell on set pieces. So I like England to finally get that clean sheet that's eluded them this World Cup. And, we'll say they figure out a way to slot a goal sometime in, maybe minute 70 or something, win 1-0. That'll work for me.
Nice. Dalo 4 says it's coming home. All right, guys, thank you so much. We'll be back on Wednesday for round 3 plays. It's a tough tournament so far. So as soon as we get further into the competition, I'm sure we've got more bets coming along. But just go easy with your bets and small stakes as things start heating up. But big thank you to Whale
Best
Kappa.
Advice of the whole podcast. Yeah, best advice of the whole show.
Best of thanks to Whale Kappa and Nigel Seeley. We'll see you guys again soon.
Take care.